after Jon Jones destroyed and finished Stipe Miocic with a spinning back kick to the body, he has said that he might not actually retire and he will consider staying if the UFC will pay him a crazy amount of money. And by that, I think that he means somewhere around like maybe the $25 to $30 million mark, because I think he was getting paid like around $10 million to $15 million for this fight and his Cyril Gane fight. And I'm basing that off the fact that during the negotiation for the Francis Ngannou and Jon Jones fight, both Jon Jones and Ngannou wanted over like $10 million for that fight. And considering that Jon Jones did come back and he fought Cyril Gane, I'm pretty sure he came pretty close to that number. But Jon Jones wants to fight Alex Pereira. The fans want Jon Jones to fight Tom Aspinall. But why isn't Jon Jones calling out Francis Ngannou? I feel like Francis Ngannou is an option for Jon Jones despite being in a different promotion, and I will explain that later. But I feel like the Francis Ngannou fight is a very competitive fight. I think it's a very interesting fight. First of all, Tom Aspinall, he is a very interesting fight as well because he is going to be fast, a lot faster than Stipe Miocic. He does have good grappling, like offensively. Defensively, he is kind of suspect. I mean, there was this fight versus Stuart Austin where Tom Aspinall was on his back. He didn't really look like he knew what he was doing, and he got dominated on the ground. And and how is he gonna look in the later rounds if he can't get the finish over Jon Jones early? And then you got Alex Pereira, a guy who obviously he's arguably the best striker in the UFC. He's got devastating knockout power, a bunch of weapons, but he's going up against a guy who's been grappling and wrestling since before Alex Pereira even thought about combat sports. And there's a clear path to victory for Jon Jones, but against a guy like Francis Ngannou, Ngannou has shown improved takedown defense. Obviously, Jon Jones has a wide variety of takedowns that he can use on Francis, and I think that if they fought, Jon Jones would eventually get him down at some point in their fight. But Francis Ngannou is a better boxer than Stipe Miocic. He is going to be setting up his punches a lot better. He's got much better technique. Obviously, he fought Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and I think that will benefit him in this matchup. And also, Francis Ngannou is going to be kicking a lot. He's got great leg kicks. He's even got head kicks, to be honest. And he is going to be attacking Jon Jones' body. And also, he is actually going to push Jon Jones back against the fence. Because Francis Ngannou is a real heavyweight. He's like 270 pounds. And Francis is quite a slow heavyweight because he's obviously huge. But against Cyril Gane, yes, he was having a lot of trouble fighting him. But Cyril Gane arguably has better defense as a heavyweight than Jon Jones and better movement on the back foot. Cyril Gane is a back foot fighter. Jon Jones, he likes to keep it at the center of the ring. He'll pressure you sometimes, but also he'll keep the fight in the center. He doesn't really like to get pressured too much. And I feel like if Francis is able to push him back against the fence, he is going to be able to unleash those haymakers from Cameroon. But at the same time, Jon Jones, if he's able to keep the fight in the center, he is going to have a really good time landing those kicks because Cyril Gane was landing a lot of kicks on Francis Ngannou, spinning back kicks to the body from the southpaw stance, just like Jon Jones, landing front kicks to the body, maybe even head kicks, leg kicks for sure. But Francis Ngannou, he's also going to be kicking him, so it was going to be very, very interesting. And also, it's going to be interesting to see how Francis deals with the grappling of Jon Jones, especially when he gets taken down. But the reason why I think this fight could actually happen is because of Turkey Sheik, or Turkey Al Sheik. And that's because this guy was able to bring two Boston promoters who despised each other for nearly like decades, right? With Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. And he was able to bridge the gap between them two with his crazy amount of money. And he was able to make some fights in boxing that part would have never happened if it wasn't for him bringing the two promoters together on one platform and making super fights. And the way I think that this could happen is if Turkey gets Dana White and Don Davis together. I think if he can get Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren together, he'll have no problem getting Dana White and Don Davis together. And if he gets them together, he might, come up with an idea to make a 5v5, which was a very successful show, and it was very entertaining when they did it with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. And that the way it goes is basically 5 UFC fighters are going to take on 5 PFL/Bellator fighters, and it's like a point system. Let's say one fighter wins one fight by decision, that's 2 points. If you get a finish, that's 4 points. So you get 2 points for winning and 2 extra points if you get a finish. In MMA, it will be like a knockout or submission or doctor stoppage or whatever. In boxing, it's just if you get a knockout, TKO, doctor stoppage, something like that. And Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou would obviously be the main event. Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, the top guys from both sides, could also be the captain. Instead of earning 2 points, maybe they could earn 4 points for a decision win and 8 points for having a stoppage win. And then, yeah, that would be the main event. And I've got like 3 other fights, and those could be Johnny Eblen versus Dricus du Plessis, both middleweight divisions of their respective organizations. I think that would be a pretty interesting fight, considering that Johnny Eblen has done a great job in his own promotion, and obviously Dricus du Plessis is a monster, but Johnny Eblen does train with a guy like Sean Strickland, and they spar together, so he's used to training with already a top midweight who has already fought Dricus du Plessis, and I think that would be a pretty interesting and competitive matchup. And then you could have Merab Dvalishvili versus Patchy Mix, both of the bantamweight champions. I would favor Merab in that matchup, but Patchy Mix is very good on the ground. He's a really good fighter, so I think that could also be a pretty competitive matchup. And then the last one I thought of is Ilia Topuria versus Usman Nurmagomedov. And obviously, Usman Nurmagomedov is a lightweight champion, but the UFC's lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, is his good friend, his training partner. And assuming he gets past Herman Saryukin, that fight, Islam versus Usman, would not make any sense. But Ilia Topuria has been talking trash about Islam Makhachev, and he has been talking trash about Usman Nurmagomedov, about how he failed the drug test and everything. And I think that this would be pretty interesting to see, considering that Ilia Topuria has dynamite in his hands. He's one of the best strikers in the UFC, and he's got incredible grappling. But Usman Nurmagomedov, he's got that Dagestani style of grappling. He trains with Khabib, Islam, Umar. He's got great striking of his own, and they would also be talking trash to build up the fight. So I think that would be a great addition to the 5v5. But overall, I think that Jon Jones should have called out Francis Ngannou, because Francis is a bigger fight than the Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira fight. And I think that a lot more fans would be excited for that, because there's a high chance of Jon Jones losing. Let's be real. That's why a lot of fans want to see Jon Jones fight Tom Aspinall, because there's a real chance of him getting knocked out. And there's also a real chance of Jon Jones beating Francis Ngannou. But thanks for watching. God bless.